Greetings, my fellow free sovereign thinkers. Thank you for tuning to LL3-Podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful realms of planet Earth. Today's date is Thursday, September 11th, 2025. This is episode 1894. Men of the West, we are at war. Before I proceed, you can follow me on multiple social media sites and podcast channels. Just type in Lucky Luck number 3, Lucky Luck Roman number 3 with 3 eyes, or the Lucky Luck Roman number 3 podcast. Furthermore, if you have any questions, comments, recommendations, and all that good stuff, whatever you do, please use decorum. Hit me via email to ll3.podcast@proton.me. If you want to donate, go to PayPal or me or cash.app/looklook number 3. If you want to follow me or give me a little crypto love on Steemit, I'm there at LL number 3-podcast. Well, 24th anniversary of a false flag event, as far as I'm concerned. Global order agenda. I've been saying this since September 14th of 2001. And of course, they're going to use the same old official narrative over and over and over again till we belly up and go, yes, master, you're right, we're wrong. We can't have approximately 3,000 people, plus most of the first responders may have all passed or have illnesses, have their names die not in vain. Can't do that. We got to put out the truth on this the best we can. And there's always multiple angles on countering the deception they try to shove down our throats for the past 24 years. I'm one of those individuals that questions everything the best of my ability. Observe responsibly. Even when the internet came out, even newspapers I read, TV and all that, trying to get brainwashed. But we've all been swindled one way or the other. So that's how I look at things. I challenge liberty over tyranny. Freedom against totalitarianism or usurpation. We have those armchair hacks who are totalitarians or usurpers that believe we need to do this, and that for our own well-being, but they don't want to engage. They want to sit with their thumbs up their rear ends or have their hands in a bowl with water and palm-olive soap and soak their hands. I've been looking at some of the Newsweek stuff and all that, like on the Second Amendment. It's not more than penile microphone rhetoric. You don't need to be an NRA or Guns of America member to tell you that, or figure it out. We have to always engage, not live in fear. Can't be complacent. The key to tyranny is eternal vigilance, Thomas Jefferson once said. We have to always honor our natural rights. Charlie Kirk would say so if he's alive today. Want us to engage on our natural rights. Share information. Have a dialogue. Honor each other, regardless of our differences. You got too many spoiled little brats, Orwellian snowflakes, I call them. Believe the world should revolve around them. Well, you know what? Piss on you. You're nothing more than a bunch of pathetic clowns that never really paid your dues. Never went through a whole lot of obstacles. You have to have a little safe space corner, right? That's the generation when you got the state knows best and screw the rest. Doesn't matter what party, partisan, whoever is running it. See, the biggest mistake the American people have made is relying on centralization, Lacanianism. Have everything come down on Washington, D.C. Forget about the separation of powers. Refuse to think and act locally. And I got to do it myself as well. And I can admit it. However, I have done petitioning, federal, state, and local, and call their bluff. Mock them, ridicule them. Let them know without us, they're nothing. That's how I observe the world. And you folks out there, you should study a little history as well. Even myself, I never stopped learning. Even I remember in the past, I read some of the quotes from Frederick Estate, the booklet called The Law. It's a good eye opener for folks that are not in tune but want to learn. You can find it on multiple websites. Mises has it, and you can order it from other sites. I think Fee has it too, fee.org. I encourage you to do that. Or not hit the thrift books too, they may have them also. Time to learn, educate ourselves, and share it with others, including our children and beyond. If you don't learn from the past, folks, we're down and repeat it, and it's been happening again and again and again and again. Trying to give you the same remedies, which I call recycled pus. That's all it is. I dare call it treason when it comes to breaching or violating our natural rights, including our enemies. It's time to stick it to them. Give them the big middle finger, metaphorically speaking. Because you have the power. They don't. So, I'm going to be reading here. Came from Brandon Smith from alt-market.us. Came out today. Men of the West, we are at war. As it reads here, it is a strange thing I was writing today about the tests of brutality we endure in the Western world in modern times, trying to explain why things cannot continue the way they have been for much longer. When the news hits the feeds on the assassination of Charlie Kirk, I forced myself to watch the video footage, just as I forced myself to watch the recent murder of the Ukrainian refugee, Irina Zaruska, hopefully I pronounced her name correctly, by a black man on the train who then bragged about how he got that white girl. I've seen the video clip. So, Mr. Smith is correct. But I'll continue. I witnessed leftist journalists trying to hide the event and bury the story until it blew up on social media. And they had no choice but to cover it. And when they did, they complained about more about online treatment of the killer than they complained about the murder itself. I have watched thousands of leftists across the web cheer for the death of that innocent girl. I have watched hundreds of thousands of them cheer for the trans mass shooter after they killed Christian kids, just as they now cheer for the death of Charlie Kirk. They can barely contain their glee. They blame Kirk and his beliefs as a catalyst, as if he is being punished for a crime. They say people are fed up with right-wing violence, but where this is violence, it doesn't exist. The claim is gaslighting on an epic level. The only violence we have seen for the past decade has been from the political left. Normally, this behavior would be called terrorism. Riots in the streets, innocent people assaulted, Christian events attacked, multiple assassination attempts, and a slew of mass shootings, all from politically motivated leftists. The only thing they come up with is January 6th, a short-lived riot which was caused by Capitol Police shooting peaceful protesters with rubber bullets and tear gas. I've seen videos of that, folks. And I wasn't really fond of how all that started with the protests and so forth. It was an entrapment game. And I'm no Trump lover myself. So don't even put me in that category. I just observe things responsibly. I continue on. What was Charlie Kirk's real crime? He committed the most egregious sin is when it comes to the political left. He told the truth without shame. For this, he was murdered. I didn't necessarily agree with Kirk on every issue. In particular, I think he put too much stock in the idea that public debate will make a difference. I think it has diminishing returns. Progressives only seem to get worse with each argument they lose. They only become more unhinged, more violent. Trying to reason with such zealous is a waste of energy, but at least it gets the message out to the normies, if there are any normies left. The reliance on public debate is part of a deeper problem within conservative and populist movements. We tend to cling to the notion that we are fighting a political battle and that this battle can be won by being the most factual, the most reasonable, the most right. As I've always said, leftists don't care about being right. They only care about winning. We have been engaging in civics while the woke cult engages in sabotage, mob violence, child grooming, and assassination. Conservatives are naturally reticent to abandon order or abandon the law. The political left knows this. They count on it. They know we are limited on how we fight back because we have an expectation that the system can be corrected and reformed. The problem is that the system is infected. It infested by parasites. In order to social discourse to achieve anything constructive, both sides have to be patriotic. Both sides have to love their culture and country to a certain degree and want the best for the future. Leftists and globalists hate the West. They hate the U.S. They want to turn it to dust. They want the memory of it erased from history. There is no level of reason or diplomacy that can dissolve their bitter psychopathy. In other words, McCarthy was right. The left needs to go. This is not that conscience and respect for order is a weakness. If we didn't have these things, then we would be no better than the progressives. My point, however, is that we need to come to grips with the reality that total war has been declared against the West, and we must start acting like we are at war if our civilization is going to survive. This is where I part ways with many of my libertarian colleagues. This problem is not about American citizens in disagreement. This is not about the old days of polite political dysfunction. Again, this is a war, a shooting war, and a mind war. I'm not interested in the constitutional rights of people who have declared war on me, my country, and the very freedoms they hide behind. If they want to burn the West to the ground to usher in their own despotic collectivist vision, then the only logical response is to burn them to the ground. For the past few years, I have warned about the events that are now unfolding. In my article, Terror Attacks Kickoff in 2025 is only going to be worse, so be prepared. Published in January. I argue that there is a serious risk of civil destabilization in 2025 caused by a steady series of terror attacks. Some of them might be planned by legitimate suspects, while others could be fabricated by covert interests in order to stir up public fear. I would also warn specifically about far-left groups reverting to Weather Underground-like tactics in order to disrupt conservative reforms. After witnessing the fiery but peaceful activities of groups like Antifa and BLM during the 2020 riots, I don't find it hard to believe that there are many also be an activist element in the U.S. right now that's willing to engage in infrastructure terrorism and political assassination. This is not to say that the leftists themselves are highly organized, but there is evidence that they are managed by calculating people behind the scenes. In other words, elitist institutions can very easily use far-left actors to carry out terror attacks because leftists only need a nudge to go down that path, just as many Islamic fundamentalists are so easy to nudge into mass violence. There are those that theorize that Kirk's shooting is a false flag and that this is about sowing divisions among Americans. Newsflash, we are already divided. Even without encouragement, we would be divided. Too many liberty-minded people make the mistake of thinking our problems stop with the globalists at the top, but they are only part of this conflict. The other part is at the bottom of the pyramid, millions of progressives that want to see the world in flames. Ultimately, it doesn't really matter if Kirk was killed by a lone nut or an organized conspiracy. The end result is the same. The lefties are still applauding. They still want you dead, so they still need to be dealt with. Before the news of the assassination, I was thinking about measured responses, particularly the subject of martial law and whether or not it is a justifiable solution given the circumstances or reaction of fear leading to a slippery slope of government authoritarianism. Trump's deployment of the National Guard in Washington, D.C. has been a resounding success so far, but he can't keep the troops there forever. The root of the disease needs to be addressed, particularly the corrupt Democrat leaders in blue cities who are keeping repeat offenders out of prisons and on the streets. Frankly, I see martial law as nothing more than a stopgap, even with the best of intentions, like giving some morphine for their stage 4 cancer. It feels good and takes away the pain for a little while, but the inside of the body is still dying. Martial law doesn't go far enough. The time for measured responses is over. Consider for a moment, though, what the natural alternative is. What is going to happen next? It's not hard to predict. It's going to be open season on leftist activists and the elites who fund them. It's going to be a widespread vigilantism. And honestly, I welcome it. I wish that this was not necessary, but I accept the reality that it is inevitable. I don't think leftists understand what is about to happen. I think they have gotten away with their evil for so long, they think they are untouchable. In truth, the only reason they continue to exist is because men like Charlie Kirk, who put so much value in traditional and peaceful opposition, whoever the shooter is, they killed one of the nice guys. When we witness a defining moment like the assassination of Kirk, I think it's important to hold these images in our minds, as horrible as they are. Civilized society is quick to move on and absorb the next tragedy without properly dwelling on their rage. We need to be much angrier than we are. Is vengeance the answer? I would say balance is the answer. Justice is the answer. For now, there is no justice, there is no balance. What I see is a culture under siege on every level, and we are not taking these attacks seriously enough. How much longer can we endure mass invasions from the third world? How much longer can we endure the indoctrination of our children? How much longer can we allow our speakers to be silenced by censorship or by the bullet? How much longer will our neighborhoods remain safe when career criminals are protected by the system? The people who hate the West or want to see the West harmed should be kicked out. NGOs and corporations that fund these activists need to be shut down and scattered to the winds by force if necessary. People and groups that actively seek to cripple the West and exploit or kill Western citizens need to be eliminated. This is not complicated. Men of the West must stand and defend themselves. We must defend our principles, our ideas, and our people. This means destroying all enemies, foreign and domestic. This means patriots are going to war. Interesting indeed. Something similar happened on August 1st and 2nd of 1946 in Battle of Athens, Tennessee. Corruption was going rampant. Election tampering. Then when the elections came, the GIs made impact. The sheriff and the mayor, the incumbents, were worried. So they thought they'd get away with it by injuring some of the observers, taking the ballots and bringing it to the jail. Well, the GIs said, if we freed Europe, we're going to free Athens. And there was a big shootout. And I did an episode on this many years ago about the election Stop the Steal. I did her story on the Battle of Athens, Tennessee. It was what I read and I narrated, it was very brutal. And the totalitarian elements in there got battered badly. When you play with fire, expect to get burnt. And I can tell you this, blowback is coming. And all these little minions out there like dishing it out. But when they receive, they actually poop in their pants and run like cockroaches with a big light on them. That's one thing about these individuals. That's the only language they comprehend. If they're going to use violence against you, you have to give them the taste of their own medicine. Double that, if possible. And I have differences with Charlie Kirk too, don't get me wrong. But this is the war on free speech. Our Bill of Rights culture. I dare call it treason, what these sons of bitches are doing. Many of the states in this union has the death penalty for that. Haven't heard anything yet about the suspect got detained. They said they are looking for someone that matches the description. And as I recall, the governor, Governor Cox, said they will use the death penalty if they're found guilty. And over there in the Beehive State, that's the firing squad. That's been in the books for a very long time. When I tell people about the war on terror, has always been against his people. And look what we're seeing right now. This 24 years ago, I told folks this. They thought I was crazy. So what I'm going to add here will be 2 alerts from the Jews for the Preservation of Firearms Ownership. September 11, 2001, now it's time for Americans to defend America, which in the end says we must defend a free society and not destroy it in fear. Now it's the time to protect our civilization, not to collapse it because of acts of war. So I'll add that to the memo. And believe it or not, that was the first thing I sent on that horrific day 24 years ago. 4:30 p.m., I would say. I had web TV, by the way. During that time, read it in its entirety. I go, time for the information war on this matter to begin on my end. I share it to everyone else, including my enemies, and I recommend them to relay it to others. Even my adversaries, even though we had differences, they did thank me personally because they have families too. And a very good friend of mine called me the next day and said, dude, they hit it on the head. I never thought of it. And that's good. And don't get me wrong. Like I said before, it was a global order agenda, but there's multiple angles on countering the official narrative. And this has merit. Get people to think. And another thing I'm going to add here too. This was released on September 14th, 2001, JPFO. Bill of Rights culture is the only answer. Black Tuesday and the Passive American, a Bill of Rights culture is the only answer. We must give up some of our freedoms to help combat terrorism? Absolutely not. But it's a good article. Big brother, technocracy, be pat down like little prisoners. This is why it has to be addressed. And all those armchair usurpers that believe we need to compromise our right to keep and bear arms. You can stick it where the sun don't shine. If you get offended by this, good. Prove me wrong if you dare. I'd love to hear from you. Because deep down inside, you know I'm right. That will be it. Thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share us throughout your social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, recommendations, and all that good stuff, whatever you do, please use decorum. You can hit me via email to LL3-Podcast or proton.me. I'll leave the footnotes of this episode so you can check it out for yourselves, read, and share it with others. And if you want to donate, go to PayPal.me or cash.app/localick3. If you want to donate or follow me on Steemit, Crypto Love to be exact, I'm there at LL3-Podcast. Once again, thank you for your time. But always remember that the demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves, keep on spreading the love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.